Well, good morning, folks. Monday, President's Day. I got the day off work today. So we're going to do a short little video on old bingo here, the El Camino. And what I'm going to do, the gauge placement of the gauges that I put in this car, I don't really care for. I'll show you. Oh. Sorry about it being dark in here, but we're at the house garage today. I don't want to put any holes in anything in here, so this bracket's just kind of slid over this lip of the radio here. And when you're driving, they're not the easiest thing in the world to see. So what we're gonna do is throw them up on the A-pillar with this guy here. Glow Shift brand. It wasn't very expensive, like 30 bucks, 40 bucks, I think, something like that. But anyway, I gotta get some interior color codes. I think it's like ruby red or something like that, but I want to try to get to O'Reilly's or somewhere and find a decent match. But essentially this is gonna go, you know, up here where the gauges are visible. So that being said, we probably have to, I don't know if the electrical connectors, yeah, they come out. You can kind of see, well, you guys probably can't very well because of the reflection, but the bulbs in the back of the gauges pop out. The one gauge that's going to be a pain is going to be the coolant temperature gauge, because you can't disconnect that. I'm gonna have to take it apart up here, run it all the way back through the gauge pod and back up through to here, because you can't disconnect it. It's one piece to the gauge, which kind of sucks. But I'm going to try to find some interior color and see if I can locate a spray bomb can. We'll primer that and paint it just so it's not a black trim piece. And then we'll get to putting this thing in. All right, well, we went to the store and got a couple different shades of red. It's not super noticeable between the two. The one on the left is actually an interior paint, and the one on the right is, I don't know, more of just a gloss, cheap Rust-Oleum, whatever. But we were kind of trying to, I think I like the one on the left here a little better. And what I didn't realize, here, let's go this way. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think the top one. Bottom one's too red and shiny. But what I didn't realize is that that gauge pod that I got is supposed to fit directly over this one. You don't fully replace this one. So we've got to take this one off and then fit the other one over it and attach them together with these little tabs that they gave us, little fasteners. And I don't know that I'm overly thrilled about that. However, this is a little bit faded anyway, you know. I could actually order the factory. I think it's paint code 1593. It's crimson red, I believe. But I don't have time to wait for that to get here, so we're just kind of making do with what we've got. So the gauge pod is actually down at the shop. I shot it with primer. It's drying, and then I brought these test colors home to see which one we're going to go with. And yeah, that'll be that. The only crappy part about having to fit that over the factory A-pillar is that to run the wiring through the A-pillar, you've got to drill holes in it. So we're going to trash the original A-pillar, which sucks, but I I believe that if I needed to at some point, I could probably find another red one, but I don't think that, let me shut this light off. Maybe. I don't think that, once that's mounted up there, I don't think it's ever going to come back off. So, yeah, we're just kind of we're going to go with it. All right, we're going to take this one off. Should just be these two Phillips screws, and then we kind of go underneath that trim piece there, but I think we can hopefully sneak it out of there. I guess we'll find out. I'm assuming none of this stuff has ever been apart, considering the door panels had never been off either when I had to take those off. But I'm hoping that we can just jeepers. That thing was in there a lot farther than I thought it was going to be. I'm hoping that we can just take this down from here. Boy, they're brittle. They are brittle. Yeah, it's just breaking. And I know this one here, it's got some screws back here, but I think it just snaps in up here on this part. As does this one. Yeah, it broke. Or it was already broke. I didn't hear anything break. We're gonna, oh, here you heard it break. Oh, never mind, that's just another piece up there. There, it broke. Yep. You can see how brittle these things are. They're just not good. There's our little piece. Whoopsies. Sorry, Mr. El Camino. Look at it, it just crumbles. It's so bad. These things with the sun, they get brittle. There's our little clippies there. So, yeah, anyway. There's that piece. We got to fit the other one over this. And I guess what I'm not sure about, I might have to drill holes for these screws in the new one also and put the screws through both of them. But left hand. Yep. All right, there she is in primer. Here's our paint, vinyl and fabric, duplicolor, and it is what the hell's the name of it? Just says vinyl red. This was our other one, gloss protective enamel. I didn't like the shine on it, so we're going with this. We'll see how we do here. Oh boy. Boy, that don't spray for shit, does it? Let me clean this tip off and try again. Let's see if that helped. Boy, that looks a lot different on this than it did on that cardboard, doesn't it? Yeah, it still doesn't spray very well. I guess we'll make do with it. Spray in any direction, it says. I beg to differ. Boy, that is bright red. That is not gonna match at all. But I suppose it'll be better than black. Maybe not. It might have been better in black. Alright, well, there's that. We'll let that sit and dry for a while. Yeah, I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Alright, Meow. Now that's painted. We're back home. And we'll go ahead and take these guys down here. And just kind of have a look. Whoa. I wrapped it all up nice. Luckily I did leave a bunch of the copper tubing for the oil pressure. So that's good. So we've got, I'm trying to remember how we did this. We got all of our lights tied together here. We've got our coolant and our oil. And these guys here, the lights just kind of pop out. So I guess step one is start taking the gauges out of this bracket, and then we can work on routing everything kind of up onto the dash and get it coming up this side. And I don't have anywhere that I can stick you guys on the magnet here. Let's see. How about that? Catch me outside. How about that?
Catch me outside. How about that?
Try to get a little light down here on the stitch imitation. All right. These guys, I don't know if they have a detent. Maybe. I don't remember how they come in. Yeah, there we go. You just gotta give them a tug. So there's our lights. We'll unhook our alternator. Okay. I had this rag stuffed in between so I could not scratch anything when I had them sitting up there. I'm gonna go ahead and take this ring off here. Okay. There's one gauge. Yeah, this one's gonna be a pain, the coolant. The oil won't be too big of a deal. Also have to make sure I have a rag in here so I don't drip all over the place. As you can see, it did leak at one point. Let me grab a wrench so I can take that apart. And we'll get this apart. And then we're gonna have to undo our loom so we can pull that coolant temp sensor out of there. And yeah, we're gonna have to pull that all the way out and completely reroute it. All right, well, let's take this guy here off. I don't know if I'm gonna need a back hold or not. Nope. Got all my rags jammed around it to hopefully avoid a little bit of a mess. Guess we'll find out. Well, that went better than expected so far, anyway. And now we gotta take it around behind all this stuff here. And then she got jammed through that grommet down there. I need to get rid of some of this wiring from the old setup, from that old 305, and kind of clean this up a little more. I also need to finish putting my boots on. They're just so dang tight. This metal ring inside here, it's really difficult to get over the spark plug wire boot, if you will. So let's see. Start jamming that back through here. We might have to come in here and pull that. I know that thing was a pain to get through that grommet. We got her, but it wasn't fun. Oh, where's she at? Right up here. The best part is I have to put it back through the grommet after we get it out. And I don't remember, I might have not even had an engine in it when I did this. I don't remember. Okay, there she is. Well, let me fight with this for a little bit and get that jammed back through that grommet. And then then we should be good. We can start moving our wiring. All right, I think we got her. I think we got her. Oh, there she is. Okay. Now we have to undo our fancy loom. Trying to make her look nice, you know. Probably won't need to put this back on because all the wiring will be hidden now. So we'll go ahead and take that off there. Whoa, about knocked you guys over. Okay. Grab our gauge. And what else did I wrap this up over? Ouch. There we go. Then we can grab our gauge and slip her on out of the bracket. Just like that. And there's our metal bracket that we won't need anymore. That's pretty neat. Cut my thumb. Also pretty neat. All right. So now I suppose what we can do is come back over here and we've got to figure out a way to refeed this stuff back down through there somewhere. And I don't know exactly how we're going to pull that off. There's not much room up there. Unless they can run maybe down along inside of there. And then kind of swoop in that way. All right, I think I figured out, I took the screw out right here, and you can kind of pull this panel out just enough to sneak your wires in behind it, most of the way up. And from there, you should be able to hide the rest of them behind that pillar, because that pillar kind of fits tight down inside here. So I've got my alternator charging voltage and all my bulbs up here. I can't do anything with coolant temp gauge until I get that gauge pod up here. It's down at the shop drying. And then we're gonna have to reroute our copper oil pressure line too. So once I get that gauge pod back up here to the house, we'll work on getting that fit up to the original A-pillar, and we'll start routing this stuff and figuring out lengths and all that kind of good fun stuff. All right, well, we're back, and I can tell you, this color did not turn out the way I wanted it to. It looked totally different on cardboard, and I don't know that I really want to put that in with that color. That is not good. Yeah. No sir, I don't like it. I might have to get on the line and actually buy the 1593 Crimson Red, because that I mean, the bottom color is closer. It's just so glossy. I didn't really care for it. It's still not great. It's hard to tell by the caps on those things, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna do some fooling around and see if I can find a better match, because I just wouldn't be happy with that at all. I just stuck these two gauges in it just to see, and this is overlaid on top of the pillar. Yeah, not even close. Yikes. All right, gotta get that throat clear in there right away. So as you saw, the red that I had did not match. Look at this. I went into Sherwin Williams. Yes, you can still see a couple little brush strokes in it still. Went into Sherwin Williams and had them mix me based on my old panel, which is right here. They used the corner of this that still has good color and mixed me a color that matches very, very close, which is this color. So, you know, who says exterior house paint can't be used on a interior car panel? You know, it'll look better when we get it coated correctly. I can see some brush strokes I need to fix, but kind of just wanted to bring you in here to show you. If I would have been prepared, here, hold on a second. Set that panel down for a second. This is Latitude exterior acrylic paint. Yeah, he shot the color off that panel, mixed her up for me, and we're gonna paint this. It's gonna look a lot better than it did with that bright red. I'll show you what it looks like here in a bit. All right, there she is. That's 2 coats. This one's drying. It looks substantially better than it did with the first coat. Still a little bit a brush stroke in it that you can see, but I think one more coat and it should look pretty good if I can get this camera to focus a little bit. Not bad. Let's look at our color. Yeah. Way, way better than the bright red. I think this will look more bueno. I think. Something like that. Alright, we're back at her here. Here's our finished product. That's got 3 coats on it. And as you can see, it matches very, very well. The guy did put some sort of additive in this for, I don't know, like UV and, I don't know, some technical Sherwin Williams terms or whatever, but I can already tell you that this paint is much more durable than the interior paint that I bought and sprayed it with the first time. I barely even touched it before, and it scratched it. So, anyway, this overlays this, obviously. So what I did was went ahead and stuck a Sharpie through each hole and put a black mark where I'm going to drill holes to be able to run our wiring through the backside of this one up into this pod here. And then we have to drill holes through both of them to put these little plastic push pins through to hold these two together. So I think what the plan's going to be, I'm going to drill these holes out, run the wires up through this one and get this one mounted and put the 2 screws back in to hold this one in place. And then I'll run the wires up through this one and overlay it. I'll have the holes pre-drilled already. And that way when I put this one up onto here, I can put the push pins in to hold it. And I'll have all of our wires and stuff through this one. Then all I got to do is put the gauges in, connect them, and then overlay this one to here and put the push pins in. And we should be okay. That's the plan anyway. Over in here, I've got our oil rerouted and kind of ran back up here. Here's our charging voltage wires. And what I'm going to have to do was, because you know these gauges were so close to each other, I just tied these all 3 together like this. So I'm going to have to cut these and extend these out because they're not going to reach from pod to pod on those. So we'll snip these probably back here somewhere, and then snip these up here and just get rid of these butt splices, and we'll extend these out. I brought some extra wire home and our heat shrink connectors here, and just kind of a wad of wire to extend those out. So we'll just add, I don't know, 3-4 inches to each one of those bulbs, and then I think we should be okay. All right, we're gonna give these a little snippy here, and we'll just do these 3 right up tight to that butt connector. Same with these 3. Whoop. And then little snippy there. Okay. So now, the reason I'm doing it this way also is because I want to feed these through the holes that I drill in the gauge pillar, so I don't have to drill such a big hole up here. So I'm going to extend these first, and then I'll shove them through that pod. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. All right, we're gonna drill our 3 holes here. These don't have to be in any special little spot. I just marked them. I'm using the world's sharpest drill bits too, if you didn't notice. So now with those drilled, like I was saying, instead of trying to shove this bulb through, you know, an enormous hole, you can come this way, bring them through just the wires, and then your bulb's set up for the gauge pod once you put them together. Does that make sense? All right, I didn't make the top one longer, obviously, because it's the farthest one away. So I want to make sure that it can get down to where everything's going to connect. So we'll get him stuck in there first. The other 2, I made the same length, which hopefully will end up being okay. If not, I do have some more wire. Should be good to go though. And I like these solder heat shrink connectors. They work very well. So those 3 are in there. And like I said, when you fit these together, now your wires are already inside here. You can pull them up a little bit. Hook them up to your gauge, and voila. Now the only part that kind of sucks is if you ever have to take this out, you're gonna have to cut wires. But I don't foresee it really ever coming back out, so I'm not worried about it. All right, here's gonna be the tricky part. We gotta get all these wires hooked back on our power and ground here. We got our charging wires, we got our oil, and our water is down there. So my plan is to get all these wires here hooked up first to these. So we'll get that all connected, and then we'll start shoving the rest of our stuff through these holes, and then we'll get this panel lined up and back in here, and then feed everything through our pillar, our triple gauge, and hook it all up, and then put that up here. I did drill our holes. They gave us 4 of these. They wanted 2 on each side. I'm just gonna do 1. I think hopefully this one will be hidden, and this one will be down close to the dash. And I think that'll be good enough. Ooh, pardon me. Good enough for me. If I sound a little under the weather, it's because I am. My head's all plugged up, feels like it's about ready to pop off. And you know, so this has taken me longer than it would normally, which is a long time anyway. All right, there's all of our lighting. And now you can kind of pull all this through. Kind of get it all tucked. You could probably go as far as electrical taping some of this together, make it look super fancy if you want to. It's all going to be hidden. I'm not too worried about that. I just want to make sure it's all out of the way. So let's go over this way. And now we can work on getting the rest of our stuff pushed through this so that we can get this up in place. And then from there we can, you know, hide everything. So I'm gonna need 2 hands. I'll try to figure out where to put you guys and I'll work on this. Okay. Kind of bring this up this way. So our oil is gonna be the bottom gauge. And that's where I want that. So I'm gonna move him to the other side of all this wiring here. And we're gonna try to get him, hopefully that hole's big enough. It might not be. I guess I didn't account for how big the oil thing was. All right, now don't forget, for your water temp, you have to put that in here first so you can run your wire. And then through here. That looks terrible. I had to hog that out. But, yeah. That's kind of, you know, it is what it is. And these gauges don't fit super great. They do, but they have this back collar on them. And there's just not much room in there to spin that tight. So, if you have a better gauge set than I do, you know, you might have a little better luck with this. But so I gotta try to get this oil line shaped a little better to allow us to get this up in there. And then before we get this fully up in, we'll run our water line through here and pull that down into place, and we should be okay. Try to get you guys in kind of a spot where you can see just what in the heck is going on here. Because I'll tell you what, this isn't the most user-friendly deal. And of course our least important gauge, well, I shouldn't say least important, but our charging voltage is going to be on the top. Still visible, just not quite as in your face as the oil and water temp. So we'll get those two shoved through there. Kind of get those tucked a little bit. And just kind of slowly working everything into place here. I'm hoping that everything fits the way I'd like it to. But you know, you guys know how this stuff goes. It's kind of a grab bag, I suppose. Like I said, this pod was on the cheaper side. I guess my main concern is just making sure that everything's kind of out of the way, you know what I mean? Kind of do a preliminary fit. This oil line's going to be a pain, but they kind of always are if you're trying to put your gauges in a tight spot. The nylon ones are much easier to work with. However, they leak when they get burned by your exhaust and everything else. I might have to extend this charging wire. I don't know. Let me see if I've got any extra. There she is. There she is. Okay, so that is kind of ish where that's going to be. And all we have is one more line, which is that water line, to try to get shoved through. And I'm kind of trying to shape this oil line here to get it kind of in a better spot. Let's try to get this water line stuck through here. Which I'm going to have to pull this back out a little bit to get it in there. That's going to run around the outside and then down. And we'll have to tuck that after. So let me grab my other gauges here. So this one here's our alternator. I've used these 3-gauge pods in the past, and normally they just replace your pillar. This one's the first one that I've ever had to do that's been one that fits over your pillar, which honestly makes it a pain. I couldn't really find any good options though, as far as brands and stuff that sold them. You could get better ones. They're pricey. All right, we're slowly trying to work this thing into place, and let me tell you, it is not the most fun, just because these oil lines are an enormous pain in the behind. So we're just trying to ease it in here, watching where everything's at. And really the biggest issue is that oil line. Otherwise it's, you know, it's working its way in. I think I can get this top screw in. And just kind of hold everything in place anyway. And I'm not going to tighten it all the way. I'm just kind of, you know, it's our placeholder, if you will. All right. Now, what we're fighting down here is precisely that. The wonderful copper. The problem's gonna be when I go to put this other pod up over this one, flexing that oil line, and I can kind of see that we've got wires in the way there, so that's pretty neat. Not for the faint of heart, folks. Not for the faint of heart. All right, that piece is on. Now, let's see how big of a nightmare this part of it is. Actually, what I think we need to do is we need to pull this copper line back out of its hidey hole down here, because I think we're going to have to pull on that to get anything where we want it to be. I think Patience is going to be her name on this one. That color match is great though. I wonder what non-car people do to aggravate themselves. Well, I mean, it's kind of there. What a pain in the butt. There it is. Like I said, our match is great. And that's a lot better spot for those gauges than down here. Believe you me. Those aren't super easy to see down there. When they're right here in your face, they're a lot easier to see. Whew! And like I said, these gauges don't fit super great, but there it is. We can get to this push pin, and we can get to this push pin to push these together. Hold them tight. But I guess my concern now is if this oil deal leaks behind that gauge. And it is negative 17 degrees outside today, so I will not be opening the garage door to start this thing up. Yeah. Got our tack here. These 3 gauges here. This is like the vantage point from what I'm seeing. Muy bueno. Much better. I need a rearview mirror still, don't I? And a headliner. The old ticky-tacky. Okay, well, those are in. From there, it's just run our water line back through the engine bay, hook it back up, tuck our oil line, and put the push pins in it, and that'll be it. Wow. What a pain in the butt that was. Should have been real easy. Was not. But that's how things go. Anyway, well, I hope you enjoyed watching that struggle. I'm going to go find myself some Sudafed and maybe my couch. And that'll be the end of this one. And by popular request, I will record more on the floors. I'll record some of the rear. I've already got a good jump on the driver's side rear, at least shaping the panel. I'll walk you guys through that, show you that, and you know, I'll show some more on that. So we appreciate everybody watching. You know, we're close. Hey, we got 900 subscribers, 900 of you guys. Let's get to like 950 on this video. Let's make a goal. So anyway, click that subscribe button. It's free. It don't cost you nothing. Click the bell thingy if you want to. Gives you notification when we put a new video or something out. But anyway, appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one.